Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, Becky Heidesch, who's here to share with us her new book, The Career Masterclass for Women, Staying Marketable and Succeeding in a Changing Business World. So is your career strategy secretly holding you back in life? Well, today's guest is here to share with us how to overcome just that. So Becky Heidesch is the founder of 2 online career centers and a boutique executive search firm where she has interviewed hundreds of executives and placed senior-level women across various industries. With decades of experience as a coach, HR director, entrepreneur, and executive recruiter, she has consulted for companies like Oshman Sporting Goods, Franklin Covey, and Hyundai Motor America. A recognized industry expert, Becky has been featured in college textbooks, major publications like the Los Angeles Times and Sports Business Journal, and on media outlets including NBC and the S&P Global Podcast. She holds bachelor's and master degrees from California Polytechnic State University and an MBA from Concordia University. So welcome to the show, Becky Heidesch.
Thanks, Marianne. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. So what inspired you to write this book, and especially for women?
Well, I think several reasons, really, but the primary one is having been in executive search, career management the last 20, 25 years. There have been so many women that have reached out over the years and, men and women that I've had the opportunity to work with. But I think through not only myself making a number of career transitions and working in and out of different industries, but also having the opportunity to work with so many other different professionals in many different industries that you find after you interview and place candidates and you make your own career transitions and you stumble and fall and you see others stumble and fall, you begin to kind of see some of the similarities between what everybody's doing and the things that are working well and the things that aren't working so well. But I really wanted to try to reach the women I was not able to reach during my time as an executive recruiter. Many people reach out and want to talk about their jobs and their careers, but unfortunately, you just can't talk to everybody and be there to help everybody. So I wanted to try to take the tips, tools, strategies, tactics, advice, where I've made mistakes, where I've seen others make mistakes, and try to put that into a comprehensive guide that women can kind of use as a resource, continuously in their career at different times in their career, but that go-to reference on the shelf that they can grab when they've got questions, and hopefully some sort of personal career coach with them.
Well, you're definitely the go-to person on information for this. How has your experience founding 2 online career centers and a boutique executive search firm influenced the advice that you offer in the book?
Well, I would, that's a great question, Marianne. I would start off saying that many of the lessons and things that I share, I have made myself, or mistakes I have made and lessons I have learned. Quitting a job before having a job, making a career transition, not understanding or knowing how, and starting businesses unprepared. So, not necessarily uncommon things in the workforce today or with many people today, but it kind of started there. And then I think working in having run an online career center and executive search and working with a variety of different people, and myself, applying for jobs and trying to break into, I started my business because I couldn't find a job doing what I wanted to do. So I decided to be creative and started a sports publication at the time. But that was my way to kind of break in and, get noticed and provide some value and begin to kind of create a career path that I was, aspiring to follow. But I think, working with people in applying for jobs, interviewing, salary negotiating, packaging, marketing themselves online, all of these things, I realized that there just has to be, it's become so complex today. And it's become, such a, managing a career has become very stressful, knowing and wondering whether or not you're going to have a job down the road, everything else that's happening today in the workforce. So I really wanted to be able to kind of provide that. And I think having worked with individuals in the space of interviewing and job placement and career development and career support just kind of gave me all of the, ingredients to work with.
In your book, you talk about the step qualifications and the framework that is. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, so as we've been talking about the complexities today, as with everything, right, that's challenging today, we are putting so much effort and time and in the management of our lives, and careers is no different. And we don't have the job security today that we used to have, and we have a changing marketplace and world today. So things are moving at a very rapid pace, and so I wanted to be able to kind of create a model that individuals, a methodology that people could, in a very simplified way, think about when they're managing their careers and what is really important. And that's really the steep qualifications. So, I focus on, and the steep qualifications are skills, tools, education, experience, and personal qualities. And I touch on each one of those and how important they are to managing your career, not just at the time that you're, at in your career, but for the long haul. So, and where they become and matter most, where, how your tools are important and mastering the particular tools. What skills do you need today? What skills are you going to need tomorrow? Where does education play a role, and ongoing education, and how does experience play a role in that? And then, of course, the personal qualities, the things that are going to differentiate you from other individuals that may have some of the same skills and tools and experience that you have. And so by following that, whether they're working in, one job or multiple jobs over their lifetime in their career, it's something that they can always go back to. If they're making a career transition, I would go back to, let's take a look at your steep qualifications and where you're at in terms of where you are today and where you want to go tomorrow.
I think that's so empowering for, just women because so much has changed in the marketplace, especially when we talk about careers. What are some of the most common career mistakes you see women make that hold them back from reaching their full potential?
Oh gosh, that's another great question, Marianne. I think women have unique challenges. The in terms of, if you went back in industries 30 years ago, women were not in many of these industries, even 20 years ago. So we've seen a lot of change, and we've got more change to see. But I think so breaking in has been kind of a challenge for women, and trying to figure out how to get in has been a challenge. And then I think in terms of, everybody makes mistakes. So I don't know that women make anything different than, men or anyone else kind of in the workforce, but I do think they have unique challenges. And I think, you have the, almost a battle to be heard or to be seen or to be noticed, whether it's getting into the C-suite or getting into the boardroom. So you have those kind of things that are happening. You also have the dynamics of, typically you've got child rearing, oftentimes in there, or aging parents. And so you have greater responsibilities. We have, women still, while there's been movement in the pay equity arena, we're still at, 84% to every dollar the male makes. And so, we have all these kind of unique things going on. But I think in terms of women, we were probably slower to get to the table in terms of accessing networks and building networks and knowing how to use those, where being able to leverage those for our career. I mean, some of the research indicates that we tend to use our networks to connect more versus ask for that job or ask for that door opening that maybe our male counterparts would. Other areas and things, typically women, if they have wanted to focus on having a family, they're, oftentimes less likely to want to travel, globally or take positions globally. So that plays a role into it too. So you just have, these types of dynamics, and then being able to get women have, struggled sometimes with being able to get the mentorship help and support that they need to continue growing. But we've come a long way, and we're going to continue to see growth. But I think we're in a good spot, and we'll continue to move forward.
How can women stay marketable in an ever changing job market, especially during times of uncertainty?
Yeah, well, and that's so important today. I like to tell anybody today that is actually even entering the workforce or thinking about, long-standing career, to be thinking about three careers, to be thinking about not only what you're going to do now, but what you might want to do mid-tier, and what you might want to do semi-retirement and after, stepping out, a last chapter or next chapter. And that's because, I think it's very natural. Years ago, my parents or other generations would stay in one job and one career. Today the average number of jobs somebody's going to have is close to a dozen, I think, and anywhere between 3 and 7 mini careers. And that's been what my past and my history has shown too. And I think that's where we're evolving today. The days of doing the same job for 25, 30 years has changed. And so I think in terms of, where we're going and staying marketable for everybody today, but, I think, for women, it's continuing to get the leadership and professional development support, management, being able to manage P&L, get that experience with profit and loss. I think that's so important. And women have had a harder time getting those roles where they're actually managing budgets. That's important. Staying marketable with digital skills. I mean, that train is, as we all know, left the station some time ago, and it continues to move at a very rapid pace, and it will continue to move at a rapid pace. So getting that kind of exposure, managing teams, all of those types of things will help women advance and move up quicker.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Becky Heidesch in regards to her new book, The Career Masterclass for Women, Staying Marketable and Succeeding in a Changing Business World. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed, and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Becky Heidesch in regards to her new book, The Career Masterclass for Women, Staying Marketable and Succeeding in a Changing Business World. So what are the key qualities or skills you see successful women leaders have?
Well, gosh, there's a lot of great women leaders out there today, and we're seeing more and more of them move into, strong leadership positions and running companies and businesses. I think, they have confidence. I think they're competent. They have, combination of the steep qualifications that I talk about. They've got the skills to do the job. They understand the tools they need to do the job. They're, well educated in their domain, their area of expertise, and they've had diversified experiences, moved around a little bit enough to get some diversified experiences. And when you talk about the personal qualities, they're hard workers. They typically know how to manage time, know how to manage people, how to manage projects, dot their I's, cross their T's, detailed. They're usually at the top of their game, and, a good, strong work ethic, and the ability to collaborate, work on a collaborative basis, work with teams, but also lead and make those hard decisions when they need to.
That's quite a list. That is quite a list, but I think it's good because it gives people the ability to look for leaders that encapsulate those type of qualities.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're in terms of, the workplace in general today, and we could continue and have an ongoing need for good leadership. So, we have a very diverse workforce today. We have, multiple generations working together today, and really being able to harness, the different skill sets, the personalities, how a Gen Z looks at the world today and a baby boomer. I mean, you've got, a cross section of skills and individuals in the workforce today, and being able to identify, who's better at this position or this position, who you want, in the seats on the bus. Those are the types of things that are going to continue to be important as we want to continue to succeed in the workforce today.
What advice do you have for women that are looking to make a significant career change based on the lessons in your book?
Well, I think career changes and career transitions are important. I think it's important to understand, I always like to go back to, first of all, there's identifying with the individual what it is that they are either unhappy with, or what it is that is motivating them to want to make a change. So, I would start there, because sometimes it may be the actual tasks of the job. And we all have jobs where there's mundane tasks. But sometimes it's also, maybe it's the industry. Maybe they were in the wrong industry. Maybe they're in the wrong functionality. Maybe they're in a position in, sales, and they're better equipped to be over here in marketing. So I think it's identifying some of those things first and foremost, and deciding, is it that you need, looking at the spectrum, is it that you really want to change the function of your job? Do you want to change the industry? Do you want to do something completely different? Do you want to make a career transition, that's just completely different from what you've been doing, where you're changing the job function and you're changing the industry? And for each one of those, that path is going to be different. It's much easier, obviously, if you're working for a particular company and you're in an industry, but you like that industry and you like that company, but maybe you're just not in the right functionality. Well, you can consider making a change within that company. And so that is going to be, less of a bridge, if you will, to cross that river than it would be making a complete career transition where you're changing industries. And, that is a much bigger process, and it's a much more involved process. It's not impossible, but you have to really put together a pretty good strategic plan to get there. And so if you are interested in making a change to doing something completely different, then you're going to have to build that bridge. And sometimes that bridge will mean you're going to have to acquire other skills. You're going to have to pick up some extra tools. You're going to have to go back to school, take a class, do something else. You're going to have to educate yourself to get prepared for that. And you're going to have to get your foot in the door with some experience and do that. So I think, I went into, when I was trying to break into at the time, and I had left higher education, wanted to move into sports marketing. I went back and did a volunteer internship at 30 to just get my foot back in the door. And many people wouldn't consider doing something like that. And especially sometimes, today, those things are just not looked at in the same way. But it's what got me in the door, got my foot in the door, and I started to get experience in a new direction that I was wanting to go. So I think you have to, when you're looking at that bridge between where you've been and where you want to go, that bridge, you have to ask yourself, if you really identify, I need to do A, B, C, and D to get from here to here. And then that's where most people then will either say, yes, I'm committed and I want to do that. And other people will say, no, that's not a bridge I want to build. That's too much effort, too much time. I'm not that interested in doing that. And then they find that maybe they want to do this over here. But it's part of that process that you need to go through versus just jumping in and thinking I'm going to make a career transition and not knowing what you're doing and, what it's going to take to get there.
Really have to prepare for that.
Yeah, I think knowing and having a clear direction as to what you want to achieve and then having a plan to go after it. It's absolutely possible to make a career transition, absolutely possible to change, what you're doing, change industries, all of these types of things that people want to do. But, to be successful, you have to have a plan to do it, and you have to be committed to the plan.
One thing I like to talk about is personal branding. What role does that play in our success?
Gosh, another great question. I like to, I think, get people to think about that, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, those are, in a sense, that's the brochure to the product and you're the product. And so in today, we're a very consumer-based economy and everything is about, getting that brand out there, getting that product out there in front of eyes and consumers. And it's no different in terms of a personal brand. So, building a personal brand is really building all of the things that are addressed in the STEEP qualifications. So it's really being able to, you have what you have on paper, what you have online, you have how you present, all of those things together become your personal brand, how you communicate, what you do, your accomplishments, your skills, who you connect with along the way. All of these things kind of come into the whole package of your personal brand. But it is important today, and it's important, especially important, not in terms of just the work that you do, but, where you want to go in the future. And everything is, as we all know, online today. So it's really important, from the the past traditional resume has now become the LinkedIn profile that is now even moving into more branding, and people are trying to, stay connected online, build followings online. That's another asset in someone's toolbox in terms of not only staying connected to people that can help them when they're out of a job, but also marketing a new direction, or marketing, some accomplishment that they've done and sharing it with their industry. And all of these things kind of play into continuing to build that brand throughout your career.
I know you've helped so many people along your way. Do you have a story you can share with us?
Oh my gosh. A story. Um, You know, I think uh, I think the earlier part of my career after leaving higher ed and moving in, I wanted to move into women's sports marketing at the time, and there just weren't any jobs in women's sports marketing. So, I spent 2 years just knocking on doors and and setting up informational interviews, and I interviewed, gosh, anybody that I felt was in a leadership role, whether it was in the sporting goods industry, professional sports, collegiate conferences, manufacturers, sports media, all of these different organizations. And through that 2 years, I didn't find the job I was looking for at the time, but I really developed a network, and then I saw the opportunity. And so I created a publication, the Women's Sports Wire at the time, and billed it as the number one information resource for women's sports news and information. And that opened the door. The first subscriber I got was the NCAA, and then it opened the door to, I think I had 50% of the colleges in the country subscribing at the time. And that moved me into exactly where I wanted to kind of go, which was sports marketing. And it was the women's side of the market. And then I evolved into a women's sports marketing agency, and kind of, I kept moving from there in terms of opportunities in the marketplace and trying to survive and follow a passion. So I think, the lesson that I would say, and I will say this: when I went through all of that and I didn't have a job coming out of it after I started my publication, and 2 years into it, then I had 2 to 3 job opportunities, which were the ideal jobs. Which one ended up, I got to work with Marilyn Oshman, the chairman of the board for Oshman Sporting Goods. And, that was a great opportunity in supporting a women in sports program that she had launched. And that was kind of the dream job I had been looking for. So I think my lesson, and what I would share with other people is, every time you create something, or if you can't find something, get in there and create and do something. Don't wait for something to happen, but get in there and do something and contribute something to the marketplace. Notice where there's a need. Notice where you can see a window open or a door open. And that's what you want to try to do, to get in there and get your foot in there and get a chance.
It's your tenacity and your persistence that really brought those opportunities to you. My hat's off to you. My goodness.
Well, thanks. I would probably, my dad's where I get my tenacity, and my mom, both my parents, have a very strong work ethic. And my mom, was one of those pioneering women who was juggling 3 kids and, working part-time and moving into, and, she worked her way up as a bookkeeper and became a CFO of a privately held company. But she taught me how to stretch a dollar. And that's really between having a good work ethic and tenacity, and being able to stretch a dollar is really the only reasons I probably survived.
Oh, my goodness. What a great story. Thank you for taking the time to share that with us. If our readers and listeners are to take away one key insight, what would you like to share with them?
I think it's, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams or your passions, and, stay with it. And learn every day. I think, learning every day is really important. And we have so many opportunities to learn at our fingertips today, whether you're watching a YouTube, listening to a podcast, reading a book, whatever it is. And so stay in the game. I think it's just really important to stay in the game today. And it takes effort. But, that's really nothing comes without, I think working hard. The things that are more valuable to us today are the things that we obviously have invested our time and energy and resources in.
Well, Becky, I mean, you're just such a wealth of information and such an inspiration. Where can our listeners go to connect with you and learn more about your book, The Career Masterclass for Women?
Well, the book is available on Amazon now, and I'm delighted to have anybody who wants to follow sign up for a newsletter or visit me at BeckyHeidesch.com.
Well, Becky, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Yeah, thanks, Marianne. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Becky. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, The Career Masterclass for Women, Staying Marketable and Succeeding in a Changing Business World. The Career Masterclass for Women is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.